anymore.
I don't know how that happened. I'm not 32 anymore.
32. 32.
Yeah, I'm saying I still think I am.
I can't remember back that far, I think.
Well, that's great. A couple of years ago, I thought that was 17, but reality is really settling in. 429. Oh, because I didn't come last week. Yes, I understand.
Happy birthday, Gershon. Welcome to Garden of the Spirit, a class studying apples from the orchard for the second time beginning after Pesach 2014. This class meets in Long Meadow, Massachusetts, the center of the universe, and is held in memory of Malka Ruth Bas Moshe, Margaret Vogel of blessed memory. Apples from the Orchard contains selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzhak Luria, based on the weekly Torah portion, superbly translated and explained by Rabbi Moshe Wisniewski. Okay, we're up to page 429, chapter 3. Arcs and angels, skins and skulls. Oh my God.
Sounds like
Read it.
Yale.
Should be into that one, Rudy.
What?
I said Rudy should be into that one.
The Aron, the holy ark that held the Luchot. The Luchos, of course, are the tablets. Was made of wood, gold-plated. How did they do this? It was made of 3 boxes, one inside the other. The center box was made of wood. A box of gold was inserted into the wooden box, and the wooden box was inserted into a box of gold. These 3 boxes correspond to the names Elohim of 3 names Elohim of Ze'er Anpin in Atzilus. Okay, 3 names Elohim of Ze'er Anpin in Atzilus. The name Elohim, as we know, represents Gvura, judgment or severity. There are 3 severas of judgment, or 3 primary spheres of judgment. First is Bina, Gvura, and Malchus. Bina provides critical analysis of a concept. Gevura limits chesed, benevolence, only to people who deserve. And Malchus limits the divine energy of Atzilus to make it suitable for the next stage of creation, Bria. 3. The gematria of Elohim is 86. 3 Elohim is 86 times 3 equals 258. The same as Haran. Haran is where Avram and his family lived after they were kicked out of Ur Kasdim. So following the Fertile Crescent, Haran is on the road to Israel. Eventually, Hashem told Avram to leave Haran and go to Canaan. Haran means anger, which fits the theme of judgment. All right, Alan, page 429. Please begin.
Arcs and angels, skins and skulls. They shall make an art out of acacia wood. There were actually 3 arcs, one inside the other. This reflects the fact that there are 3 names Elohim in Ze'er Anpin of Atzilus, corresponding to its Bina, Gevura, and Malchus. The numerical value of these is 258, the numerical value of Haran. Bezalel made 3 arcs corresponding to these 3 names. Elohim, Aleph Lamed He Yud Mem, 1 plus 30 plus 5 plus 10 plus 40 equals 86, and 3 times 86 is 258. Haran is Ches Resh Nun, 8 plus 200 plus 50, 258. The name Elohim signifies contraction, restriction, tzimtzum, judgment, din, and severity, gvura. It can therefore be seen to signify any sphera that exhibits these properties. Bina is the faculty of the intellect whose function it is to analyze and evaluate the insight of Chachma, thereby purifying it from any admixtures of subjectivism it might contain due to the imperfection of the individual's ability to perceive and recognize the truth behind his insight. It thus functions with judgment and severity. Gevura is the sphera whose task it is to limit the indiscriminate beneficence of chesed, in order that goodness be bestowed only on recipients who deserve it. Finally, Malchus is the funnel through which the consciousness of one world passes to the next, lower one, and thus becomes the ruling principle of that lower world. Since it functions in this context as the definer of the lower world, it is also clearly a principle of contraction and limitation. Haran was the city in Mesopotamia where Avraham's family settled after leaving Ur of Chaldea. Avraham himself continued on to the land of Israel, leaving his extended family behind. Haran thus thematically represents the idea of opting out of answering the divine call to perfection, the world, and the preference to remain behind in order to indulge in the world's ungodly enticements. Parshas Noach describes Hashem's displeasure with mankind's choice of the lawless life over the divine principle. The last sentence of Parshas Noach, which immediately precedes Hashem's call, "Go forth" to Abraham, at the beginning of Parshas Lech Lecha, is, "And Terah, Abraham's father, died in Haran." Significantly, as a word, Haran means anger, signifying Hashem's frustration with mankind's rejection of him prior to Abraham. Thus, these three names, Elohim, constitute the full manifestation of Hashem's attributes of severity. The three arcs that made up the Ark of the Covenant were intended to counterbalance these names, Elohim.
All right, thank you. Gold, which has a reddish tint, represents Gevura. The outside and inside boxes that correspond to Bina and Malchus were made of gold. The inside box, corresponding to Gevura, was made of wood. I do not understand the distinction between Gevura, why Gevura is wood and Bina and Malchus are gold. Maybe someone will pick it up in the paragraph that we read. Alan, please continue.
Since the top of the supernal tree is Bina and its bottom is Malchus, the inner and outer arcs were made of gold, whereas the middle arc corresponding to Gevura was made of wood. Since Chachma, in a way, transcends human intellect and rationality, being a revelation of some insight from beyond, it is in context like this one excluded from the full structure or tree of consciousness. In such context, Bina is the highest sphera and Malchus the lowest. It thus follows that this model of consciousness is framed top and bottom by elements of Gevura. This is because this structure is limited by the parameters of human rationality and intellect. Gold, a reddish color, signifies Gevura.
So it's just for the top and bottom, but not for the middle. Anyone want to take a stab at it? All right.
Rudy, no comments?
Well, Malchus is lower, so wood is worth less. I don't know. It grows in the earth. I'm sure you thought of that.
So does it make any more sense in the Hebrew? Because it says wood, not acacia particularly.
And the Hebrew calls it a supernal tree.
Well,
The top and bottom of the supernal tree, which it rarely does.
if it's a supernal tree, we don't have
It has
access.
something to do with the top and the bottom.
Is there
Not
wood
just like
mentioned in
this one
Torah?
excluded from the full structure. I guess it's like blocking or
Insulating.
insulating. That's what it seems to be.
Yeah, there was a book in the 70s saying that it's making a capacitor, so if somebody approached the ark, it would get shocked.
There's a
But
book like that?
I,
Yeah, we used to have someone who lives here who used to talk about that.
yeah, but
Okay. All right. Malchus of Atzilus forms the Keser of Bria. I'll read that again. Malchus of Atzilus forms the Keser of Bria. Of the four Partsufim of Atzilus, I should, not Chachma, but Abba. When we talk about Spheras, they're Chachma and Bina. When we talk about Partsufim, we're talking about Abba and Ima. Abba settles in Atzilus, Ima settles in Bria, Zerampin settles in Yetzira, and Nukva settles in Asiya, or corresponds to. It occurs through the three names Elokim that we mentioned before. The angel AC, we'll call him, remember, if we don't pronounce the actual name of the angel, unless it's also used as names for people. So the angel Casey, and I don't think we've met him before, is in Bria. The angel Tron in Yetzira, and the angel Sandal is in Asiya. Okay, wait. Yeah, there you go. Gershon, ready?
all right, blah, blah, blah. Since the top, that's where we are? No.
No.
No,
Also.
Are we still taking commentary on number 4?
We'll pause there and we'll take a commentary. Yes, Rudy.
So I think we talked about this when we did this the last time, is that if you look at gold, the consistency of gold, even though it's mined in an ore, is that it's very soft. It's a very soft metal. It's not very strong at all. What makes it strong is that when you wear gold, it's not pure gold. It's a combination of gold and another metal.
Alloy.
Silver.
Whereas wood is derived from a tree. Where is the strength of the tree? The strength of the tree is in its root system, which is beneath the ground and it's hidden. So you're talking about the inner box, right? The inner box, it's like a Russian doll, right? You're talking about a box within a box within a box. So the wooden box was the most inner one, and that's closest to that which is holy, which is spiritual, which is Gevurah, the strength of Hashem. Whereas gold, which is a precious metal, it's still soft. And Bina and Malchus, especially Bina sometimes can be not so strong. So I think you were looking at the properties of those materials and what those inherent properties are. At least that's my opinion.
Okay. Very good. Making good connections.
What's the car behind you?
Lamborghini.
It's a
Oh,
schnitzel car. It's delivering the schnitzel.
Yes, it is. It's a new schnitzel delivery car.
All right, my turn. All right. Now
Thank you,
also,
Rudy.
You're
Yep.
welcome.
Now also that the Shekhinah in Atzilus becomes vested in Keser of Beria. And these are the three arcs.
Casey.
Casey in Beria, Tron in Yetzirah, and Sandal in Asiya. In a famous passage of the Zohar, it is stated that the Bina of Atzilus nests in Bria, Zerampin nests in Yetzirah, and Nukba nests in Asiya. This means that the levels of consciousness denoted by the three lower worlds derives from this Patsufin in Atzilus. Bina's intellect, thus the divine consciousness that defines the world of Bria, is intellectual consciousness of Hashem. Zerampin is the parsif of emotions, thus the divine consciousness that defines the world of Yetzirah is emotional relationship to Hashem. Nukba is expression, thus the divine consciousness that defines the world of Asiya is active, practical consciousness or relationship to Hashem. Thus, the three names Elohim of Atzilus manifest themselves as the defining principles of the three lower worlds. This occurs first through the Shekhinah, Malchus of Atzilus, the expression of divine consciousness in the lower world, being invested in the Keser of Bria. Since Keser is synonymous with will, specifically the will to become manifest through the world, throughout the world.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was wondering why it suddenly brings in the three angels here, what it has to do, and that's answered in 6. We've used many ways to calculate a word's gematria value. The letter Aleph is not only the number 1, it can also be 1,000. There are 2 reasons for this. First, the highest letter, Tav, is 400. The final letters, final Chaf, Mem, Nun, Fe, and Sadi, can be 500, 600, 700, 800, and 900. Now, typically, the final Chaf is the same as Chaf, 20. The final Mem is the same as Mem, 40, and so on. But there is this method of gematria as well. We then go back to the beginning, and Aleph then becomes 1,000. In addition, the word Aleph, the word Elef means 1,000. That is the Hebrew word for 1,000, the same letters as Aleph. So if we count the first letter, Aleph, of Aaron, right, the Holy Ark, as 1,000, it has a gematria of 1,256. The gematria of the three angels we mentioned are Casey, 662, Tron, 314, and Sandy, 280. 662, 314, and 280 equals 1,256, the same as Aaron. If we count the Aleph as 1,000. In other words, 3 boxes of the Aaron correspond to the 3 names Elohim, which settle in the jurisdictions of the 3 angels that we mentioned. Okay, go ahead, Gershon.
All right, I was not making him.
When you're ready.
Therefore, when the word for ark, Aaron, produces the numerical value of
Casey.
plus that of Tron, plus that of Sandal or Sandy. Aaron, Aleph, Resh, Bab, Nun, taking Aleph as 1,000 gives 1,256, and the whole Casey, Tron, and Sandy, 1,256.
Okay, thank you.
Beautiful.
There are times of goodwill, divine goodwill, when the name Havaya shines instead of Elohim. We are familiar with the gematrias of the name Havaya, 72, 63, 45, and 52. We rarely discuss the plain gematria of Havaya, 26. But if we add those 5 numbers together, 72, 63, 45, and 52, and 26, we get 258. We said before that 258 was three names Elokim and Haran. And this is because, but now we're finding 258 with Havaya. This is because the three names Elokim can be transformed into Chesed and benevolence, represented by the name Havaya. Okay, 431. Now,
even though we said that the ark embodies three names Elohim, nonetheless, in times of divine favor, the name Havaya and its spellings out shine into these names, transforming Hashem's attribute of justice into that of mercy. As we have explained previously, there are four principal methods of spelling out the name Havaya, the numerical values of which are 72, 63, 45, and 52. When these numbers are added to the numerical value of the name Havaya as it's normally spelled, 26, we have 72 plus 63 plus 45 and 52, 258, the same numerical value of the three names Elohim mentioned above. Thus, the name 258, the 258 of Elohim is exchanged for the 258 of Havaya. This is how the ark counteracts or sweetens the three names Elohim.
okay,
Now, I want to say that, as I remember, you don't make the boxes. You make the wooden box, and then you coat it inside, and you coat it outside, and then they become one gold, one wood, one gold. But basically, it's the wood covered outside and inside, no?
yes, the wood is covered on the outside and the inside. The Torah says to plate the wood with gold inside and outside, but practically Rashi says that they built a gold box to cover the outside, and they built a gold box to plate the inside. In fact, the inside gold box had a lip that covered the top, a lip that covered the top of the wooden box. You know, the whatever you call that.
Yes, the
surface.
edge, yeah.
The edge.
But then the inside would connect with the outside and would not be a.
What?
It doesn't have to. You could have just a small lip over it.
Okay, yeah, that's
Depends
true.
on how thick the wood was. That you're
Correct,
making the wooden box. Make it thick enough, you can have a small lip on the outside or a small lip on the inside.
yeah, little
You still
details.
see wood in the middle.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh boy.
8.
8. Yesod is the Sphira before Malchus. We've read many times that it represents the drive for self-actualization. Never clearly understood what he meant by that. It also is represented by the male organ. Yesod is the Sephira by which Zer Anpin, the male component, interacts with Nukva, the female component. The Aron houses the Luchos, which interacts with the world to elevate it, similar to the way the male interacts with the female to procreate. Okay, that's what it says. Okay, go ahead, Gershon.
Know as well that the ark is the secret of Yesod of Abba. Yesod of Abba is the drive within the initial insight of Chokhmah towards self-actualization. It becomes the Mochin, or divine consciousness, of Zer Anpin, the emotional parzuf, which is the principal parzuf of Atzilus. Housed in the tablets of the covenant, which encapsulated the entire Torah, the ark can be seen as the vehicle through which Hashem's plan for creation is transmitted to the world. This too is how the ark transforms the world of Elohim, the ruthless and unrelated laws of nature, into Havaya, the mercy and goodness of Hashem's presence.
Okay, 9. There are actually 3 parts a moil removes at a bris: the foreskin, a membrane underneath, and some blood. The part of the milah, the bris ceremony or procedure is that the moil is required to suck some of the blood out. Okay, nowadays, recent times, where there are possibilities, dangers of diseases that can be transmitted, if the moil has any concern whatsoever, then he uses he does this with his hands with a gauze.
Straw. Oh,
This is a straw.
With a
I thought it was a
gauze.
straw.
Sometimes it's a tube. Sometimes they use a tube with a
Yeah.
gauze, but in cases when there is no concern and where the mile is doing it the traditional way, then he just uses his mouth to suck out some of the blood. These three, the foreskin, the membrane, and the blood, also exist as klipos and yesod. And they are countered by gulgalta of malchus. I think those are part of yesod, what we said before. Yeah, in yesod. But then they're countered by the gulgalta of malchus. What's gulgalta? Gulgalta means skull and is usually associated with keser, at least in a general way. It doesn't have, I don't know if it's, I don't think it's exactly keser. It could be like a low part of keser or something that's close to keser. By the way, I'll say this in a minute. So the Hebrew word for diadem, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Is nezer. And this is written in the Torah, whose gematria is 257, the same as Aaron. Diadem is also associated with skull and keser. Diadem is a crown. And the crown sits on top of the head, like the keser, like keser means crown.
Diadem is a tiara.
A tiara. So I could be that it's more of a, that's my term for it. My translation for Nezer. So that's 257 and Aaron is 257, and that's the Gulgalta. By the way, incidentally, I hope I don't insult anyone here. So we know Keser is a crown, Gulgalta is a skull, and Gulgalta is the name of the knoll, Knoll, the knoll upon which Yashka was,
Golgotha, yeah.
how they say, there's
Crucified.
crucified was according to tradition, he was crucified at Golgotha, which means skull, and I guess it's a knoll, and it looks it's a little bit skull shaped. But does anyone know the Latin word for Golgotha?
We say Golgotha in Spanish.
You say what?
Golgotha, like a
For what?
similar for the place.
Ah, oh, so that's from the Hebrew word or Aramaic word. Anyone know the Latin word? I think it's Latin. The Latin word is Calvary.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know the Latin word.
So if you see, for example,
I like the old Kesser.
that name of Old Kesser is Calvary.
Yeah,
The church, okay.
So you could say they kept the name.
yeah, we figured that.
Okay.
I think we knew that before. I forgot.
I probably have mentioned it here. So apparently they kept the name.
Do
Okay,
we
is this
wanna
it?
do we want to speculate what means what's the crown of Malchus? What does refer?
In the anatomy?
Okay.
The answer is no, we do not want to speculate.
Okay, I have that fear, yes.
I haven't seen anything, I don't know anything.
Irrelevant is
It's irrelevant.
all is spiritual.
But what
yes.
apparently it could be that in Sephiras, that it's the Gulgalta of Malchus that has to do with Yesod. Like that is what Yesod. It's the entry point, the point of contact for Malchus and Yesod.
or passive of Keser of Malchus.
It is the skull of Malchus.
All right.
That's a skull.
I have to
Okay.
check out to 10.
That's why we don't want to speculate. Yes.
1 minute, please. The Kesser, is this here or later? Give me a minute, guys. I think that's it. Can't be. Yeah, I just said this. Okay, Abigail, you ready? 431 at the bottom, as you know.
As you know, Yesod possesses three shells, the foreskin, the mucous membrane, and the blood. To counteract these, the Golgotha of Nukva issued as the ark, the word for ark, aron, having the same numerical value as a synonym for crown, netzer. So aron is aleph, resh, Nun, 1, 206, plus 50, 257. Nezer is Nun, Zayin, Resh, 50 plus 7 plus 200 equals 257. The bris milah, the commandment of circumcision, is designed to remove the shells surrounding the procreative organ, which is the bodily manifestation of the Sephira of Yesod, since these shells obstruct the full exposure of this Sephira and thereby limit the divine beneficence that can issue from it. Shells in Kabbalah are an appellation for evil. The act of ritual circumcision consists of 3 separate procedures: removing the outer foreskin, milah, peeling back the mucous membrane, peria, and sucking off the blood produced by the operation, met zitza. In order for the divine message embodied in the Yesod of Abba to penetrate the world, Malchus reveals its will, i.e., its will to manifest divinity in the lower worlds. The skull, Golgotha, of any partsif is the keter of that partsif. And keter is synonymous with will, as we have explained.
Okay, my turn. Thank you. 10. The Keser is associated with the 3 aspects of intellect. This is why the Aron was made of 3 boxes. In the physical body, we find a thick membrane, a thin membrane, and a bone. Associated with the brain. Okay. All right. So what's going on here? My understanding is that before we said that the Aron has 3 boxes because of the 3 names Elohim. Now we're switching it and we're connecting it with
Havaya.
We're connected with Havaya and with the mind, with Chachma and the mind. That's what it seems like.
Doesn't the Shel Rosh have is tricameral, right?
Tricameral.
Yeah, there's 3 rooms in there, 3 boxes.
Oh,
And the head's filling?
Yeah.
4 boxes, 4 sections.
4?
What I was thinking when learning, well, I'll say what I'm thinking, my connection, Rudy. Okay. Go ahead, Abigail.
Betzalel therefore made 3 arks, one within the other, for the brain also possesses 3 shells, the thick membrane, the thin membrane, and the skull, above which is the skin. Just as Yesod possesses 3 shells, so does Chachma, or the brain in general.
Okay. Now, 11, the Aron had a lid called kapores. This is for the skull. Skin corresponds to the curtain, the parochas, that separated the Holy of Holies that housed the Aron and the outer room of the Beis Hamikdash. This represents the division between the head and the body. All right, go ahead.
Right. The skull is the ark cover, kaporis, and the skin is the veil that separates between the holy and the mundane. In other words, the head from the body. The Holy of Holies, the inner chamber, measured 10 by 10 cubits, while the outer chamber measured 10 by 20 cubits, and was thus twice the size of the Holy of Holies. This would indicate that the outer chamber housed twice as many sephiros as the Holy of Holies. It thus follows that the Holy of Holies housed the 3 sephiros of the intellect, or head, while the outer chamber housed the 6 sephiros of the emotions, or body.
Okay. There you go. Okay, 12. The Torah, represented by the Luchos, represents the brain, and the Yud of Havaya. Word for tablets, Luchos, is written the Torah without a vav. It is read as a plural word, as if the vav is there. But since the Torah does not have vowels, it can also be read as if it's singular. The Luchos were originally one slab, but it was split into two because of the sin of the golden calf. I have never heard that before. I haven't seen that anywhere until here, until this.
I thought they were new.
Right.
But
You thought they were new? What do you mean new?
Yeah, like he smashed them and then when they started again, when he went back up.
He made new ones.
Yeah,
But
I
according
didn't-
and the Torah there's no indication that it was one piece, but
Oh, I
according
see
to
what
the
you're saying.
Arizal here, it was one big tablet, and then after the golden calf, it became two. Because it's in a golden calf, it became two slabs instead of one.
That makes sense.
Is that that's not the first one, that's the second one, right?
Yeah, the first one is saying is one.
The first one was one. That's the Safaria, the Sapira. Wasn't it one? It was one. It was
I've
one.
never
That's what he's
seen that it was
saying.
one. I haven't seen that anywhere.
I thought
But
that was common.
The what?
I thought that was common knowledge. I've seen what do you call
Charlton Heston,
no,
In
no.
depictions?
I've seen depictions, not depictions, engraved in gravures of Moshe on Har Sinai with just one one tablet.
I've never seen that. Where do you see it, Rudy? In the museum in Egypt?
No, not in Egypt, but
Just
not
kidding.
there.
No, I've never seen this.
I'll find it. I'll find it somewhere. I know I've seen it.
Okay. I mean, more importantly is to see it written in some source.
Well, sometimes a lot of books were destroyed, so
Yeah, but we'd have a source somewhere in the Medrash, Gemara, Zohar.
I understand, but that's
Usually you see something. I've never seen this anywhere until here.
It makes sense that the first try was going to be unified and one, sort of like Gan Eden, right? And then when they screwed up, now we have division.
like Chumash is in
I'm
the
reading into
Bible.
it, but I see parallel.
But it's interesting. It would be interesting to. I didn't check what it says in the Torah, but if I'm not mistaken, it says all along that it was two slabs.
Or the fact that it was a plural, Luchos versus I don't know, Lucha. I don't know what's the singular.
Rashi
correct?
says that it's written singular to teach us
Oh.
that they were both identical in size.
Okay,
Hmm.
that makes it more difficult.
That's Rashi. But to say that originally was one and then at some point got split into two, never seen it. And in fact, I
Why
think
would-
the Torah always refers to them as two.
Why would the law be given as two?
Because there are 10 commandments on,
I don't know.
Why would Torah be given as two?
5 and 5, the positive, negative. I don't know. So the fact that we're talking about Luchos sounds like two, but I don't remember the first time if that's written as a plural or singular.
He's going to talk about it a little. He might answer that question. If I'm not mistaken, Abigail, it does say that the first one corresponds to the sixth one. That first one has a commonality with the sixth. The second has a commonality with the seventh. And the third has a commonality with the eighth. And this is why it was two, to teach you that they correspond to each other.
Yeah, I guess that's the case with our two Torahs, right?
That they're-
They correspond to each other and they're two.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, when you're ready, go ahead and read 432. I just wrote this in short. He may have a little more explanation.
The Torah, i.e. the tablets of the covenant, alludes to the brain within the head, alluded to by the yud of the name Havaya. For the tablets were initially one tablet, as indicated by the fact that the word for tablets, luchot, is written such that it can be read tablet, luchat. Because of the sin of the golden calf, they were made into two. And he gave to Moshe, when he finished speaking with him on Mount Sinai, the two tablets of the covenant, tablets of stone, written with the finger of God. In this verse describing how God gave Moshe the tablets of the covenant, and Moshe descended with them from Mount Sinai, only to find the Jewish people engaged in the sin of the golden calf, the word for tablets of luchot appears twice. Both times it's written without a vav before the final tav, the usual indication of feminine plural. Thus, the word can be vocalized also as luchat, to mean the tablet, singular of. Evidently, the original intention was for mankind to be aware and conscious of God's unity much more directly than it is now. Since the sin of the golden calf, in which the Jewish people insisted on an intermediary between them and God, which they originally conceived of as Moshe, but in his absence demanded a substitute, the human mind functions on the principles of duality and balance, contrast, and juxtaposition, represented by the twin tablets of the covenant.
Let me ask a different question. Why does he mention this here? Okay, the tablets are inside the Aron. But why?
Let's go back to the brain.
I'm not sure how it fits in. Yeah.
Where is the brain? So the brain had what parts? Okay, so it was three shells, the thick membrane, the thin membrane. So that, yeah. So if the arc is the skull, and then the two luchos are the thick membrane, thin membrane, doesn't make much sense.
And if it's the brain, I was going to say there is a right side of the brain and left side of the brain.
Yeah.
And what connects them?
Don't ask me.
There's something callosum, with a P in it. Not a cryptic callosum.
Never took anatomy.
The Torah moves to the brain within the head.
The something callosum is the whatever you call it, the mass that connects the two halves of the brain.
Colossal brain. Let's see what we find.
That's what it reminds me of.
Corpus callosum.
Corpus,
callosum, like callus.
Yeah, sure.
Well.
The corpus callosum. So that's right. I don't know. But yeah, so this is.
Well, what's food for thought? Even though if there's no apparent connection with the rest.
Yes, I guess there is.
Is he saying the golden calf made everybody brain damaged? Seriously.
It split us. I don't know.
The brain is like the tablets, is like the ark. Is that what he's saying?
Like the tablets, yes. The tablets are like the tablets are like the brain.
And is he saying, sorry to ask this question, is he saying the ark is based on, it's based on the way the ark has three sections is based on Zeranpin, right?
We said three Elokims of Zeranpin.
Was to sweeten the severity.
Yes.
It sounds like he's saying we're brain damaged because of the calf. So that's the thing. That's why